Nearly 42% of all U.S. households earn above the federal poverty level but still can't afford the bare minimum. That's over 55 million households living exactly one check engine light away from total collapse. Think about that. While 1 in 9 Americans already lives below the poverty line, tens of millions more are just one doctor's appointment away from joining them. You might not feel the gravity of this yet, because modern poverty isn't just designed for the homeless man on your street. It's designed for you. It's designed to keep the working class running on a financial hamster wheel where you work non-stop and still somehow fall behind. Picture this. I know most of us have been here before. You get home after a long day and your $150 electricity bill is sitting pretty on the counter, but you only have $130 in your account. You're just $20 short, so you pay it 3 days late when your paycheck hits. But because it's late, the utility company charges a $30 fee. That $30 comes out of your grocery money, so eggs and milk go on a credit card. You can't pay the full balance, so you're hit with a $40 interest charge. Now, next month's $150 electric bill feels like $220. You didn't buy anything unnecessary, you didn't go to the movies, you're just paying a poverty tax on every dollar you spend. You're not bad with money, you're being suffocated by the cost of being $20 short one time. And that's the real cost of poverty. If this feels uncomfortably familiar, you're not alone. I'm Brown from Brown Invest, and I'm here because the math just isn't adding up. This channel is for the people trapped in that cycle. So if that's you, hit that subscribe button and give this a thumbs up, because today we're talking about the trap that's eating away at all your hard work.
Most people treat poverty and instability as if they're the same thing. They think just knowing how to budget will save you from a rainy day. You've heard it 1,000 times. Track your spending, cut unnecessary expenses, make a plan. And I am sure you now know they are just noise. They don't work when you are operating with no buffer. People will say, well, just be more disciplined. But discipline doesn't lower the price of the emergency replacement. Discipline doesn't give you back the 2 hours you spent on the phone with the utility company trying to avoid a disconnection fee. The idea that wealth is purely a result of good habits and poverty is purely a result of bad ones is mathematically incomplete. It ignores the cost structure of instability itself. Let me show you what I mean.
Look at your phone service. Most people don't think about their phone bill as a trap, but watch how this plays out. If you have good credit and some money up front, you walk into a carrier store and you get the 2-year contract. You pay $50 a month for unlimited everything. Your phone costs $800, but they finance it at 0% interest because you're a low-risk customer. Your total monthly cost is maybe $85. It's predictable, it's stable. Now let's say you don't have the credit for that contract, or maybe you had to break a previous contract and there's a termination fee you can't pay. So you go prepaid. You buy the $45 monthly card at the convenience store, except you don't have $45 all at once right now. You have $30. So you buy the $30 weekly card. That's $120 a month for worse service. You're paying $35 more every month for the exact same connectivity because you couldn't front the contract deposit. But it gets worse. Because you're on prepaid, when that week runs out and you're 2 days away from payday, your phone shuts off. Now you miss the call from the school nurse. You miss the text about your shift change. You miss the notification that your account is about to overdraft. That disconnection, that gap, creates new problems that each cost money to solve. Now you see how you lose more just because you were locked out of the better deal. The system that is supposed to be protecting the poor is the very reason why the number of poor people keeps increasing, and that is honestly frustrating. Institutions have figured out how to monetize your instability. Take a look at your insurance. See how they capitalize on your instability? If you can pay the annual premium up front, most companies give you a discount, maybe 10–15% off. But if you have to pay monthly, you not only lose the discount, you usually pay an installment fee. $2–3 extra every month just for the privilege of breaking up the payment. Or take utilities. If you can set up autopay from an account that always has money in it, some companies shave a few dollars off your bill.
But if you're paying manually because you need to control exactly when the money leaves your account, you pay full price. And if you're ever late, even by a day, there's a reconnection fee, sometimes $50, $60. You're being charged not for using more electricity, but for the administrative friction of your financial instability. Just the thought of this makes me sick to my tummy. These systems are supposed to treat us like the customers. Instead, they're the predators eating away our money. A few dollars here and there, and everything is gone. The system isn't neutral. It's designed to reward people who don't need help and penalize people who do. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. I'm saying there's a logic. Companies price risk. If you can't demonstrate that you're a safe bet, they make you pay for that uncertainty. The problem is, the only way to prove you're stable is to already have stability.
But money isn't the only thing that gets drained when you're operating on empty. Your time disappears too. And time is the resource you can't get back. Let's say your bank account gets low and you need to move some money around. Maybe you're transferring from savings, or maybe you're waiting for a check to clear, or maybe you're just trying to make sure a payment doesn't bounce. That phone call takes 30 minutes. You're on hold, you're navigating the menu, you're explaining the situation. That's 30 minutes you're not working, not resting, not doing anything else. Now imagine that happens twice a month. That's an hour. Over a year, that's 12 hours spent managing scarcity. 12 hours that someone with a comfortable cushion never has to spend. Or think about this. You need to return something you bought online because it doesn't fit. If you have a printer at home, you print the label, drop it at the post office, done. 10 minutes. If you don't have a printer, you have to go to the library, wait for a computer, print it there, then go to the post office. That's an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on the bus schedule. This is the time tax. Every task takes longer when you don't have the tools or the margin to do it efficiently. And while you're spending those extra hours navigating friction, you're not building skills. You're not applying for better jobs. You're not sleeping. You're managing the logistics of being broke. And here's the psychological piece that people don't talk about enough. When you're constantly calculating, constantly worrying about whether the next charge will push you over, your brain is running a background program all the time. It's exhausting. You can't think long-term because short-term survival is consuming all your processing power. That's not weakness, that's neuroscience. Your brain isn't broken, it's overwhelmed.
So this is where the classic financial advice falls apart. And this is why the standard advice fails. It tells you to save before you spend, invest your savings, pay your mortgage instead of renting, start preparing for retirement. It tells you that compound interest is your friend. Yes, all of that is true, but it assumes you have money left over to compound. But in reality, you are just living on the edge. If you're paying 22% interest on a credit card, the best investment you can make isn't the stock market. It's paying off that card. That's a guaranteed 22% return. But most advice skips right past that. It talks about building wealth as if you're starting from zero, when really you're starting from negative. Or take the advice about meal planning and cooking at home. Yes, cooking might be cheaper than eating out. Well, that is for someone with enough time to plan and money to buy ingredients in large quantities, plus a kitchen with functional appliances. If your stove only has 2 working burners and you're getting home at 8 p.m. after a double shift, that advice isn't helpful. It's not that it's wrong, it's that it's incomplete. The problem with this advice is that it's written by people who have never operated with zero margin or had to choose between fixing the broken window latch and buying groceries. They've never had to decide which bill to pay late because there's no universe where all of them get paid on time. So the advice sounds good in theory, but in reality, it doesn't account for the real constraints of financial instability. And we beat ourselves most times when the advice fails. We think, oh, this is so simple. Why am I not doing well? It's not you. It's the system that only rewards those with buffer.
If the standard path doesn't work, what does? Look, the way out of this isn't about getting rich. It's about stopping the bleeding first. The single most powerful financial move you can make is to create a gap between when something breaks and when it becomes a crisis. That gap is called a buffer, and it doesn't have to be huge, it just has to exist. When you have $300 set aside, a busted washing machine becomes an annoying afternoon, not a month-long disaster where you're paying the laundromat and falling behind on everything else. That $300 isn't making you wealthy, it's stopping the penalty fees. It's giving you the option to buy the decent replacement instead of the cheapest one that will break again in 6 months. This is why the emergency fund advice, boring as it sounds, is actually the most radical thing you can do. Not because it makes you rich, because it breaks the cycle of paying extra for instability. And I know what you're thinking. Brown, if I could save $300, I would have done it already. And I hear you. It's hard. It feels impossible. But here's the reframe. You're not saving for some distant goal. You're buying your way out of a recurring expense. You're purchasing the ability to not pay the late fee next time. You're investing in the option to wait one more day for the better price. That's not savings in the traditional sense. That's a strategic defense against a system that charges you for being vulnerable.
This is what you should start doing differently. Every financial decision has 3 costs: the price tag, the replacement timeline, and the friction cost. Let's say you need a winter coat. The cheap one is $35. It'll last 1 season, maybe 2 if you're careful. The good one is $120. It'll last 5 years, maybe longer. Most advice says buy the good one. But if you don't have $120 right now, that advice is useless. So here's the actual strategy. You buy the $35 coat this year because you have to, but you recognize that you're renting warmth at $35 per season. Over 5 years, that's $175. Now you know the real cost. And next year, if you can save even $50, you put that toward the better coat. You're not waiting until you have the full amount. You're chipping away at the real cost of the cheap version. This applies to everything. Shoes that fall apart, kitchen knives that don't cut, backpacks that rip. You start asking, how many times will I have to replace this? And then, what would it cost to solve this problem once? That shift in thinking is the key. You stop optimizing for the lowest price today and start optimizing for the lowest total cost over time. Sometimes that still means buying the cheap version because that's what's available, but at least you see it clearly. You're not failing, you're making the best move in a constrained game. And slowly, as you plug the biggest leaks, you'll find that you have slightly more room the next month. Not a lot, but enough to plug the next leak. It's not fast, but it's directional.
I know this is not easy, but listen, there's no way out. The first $1,000 is harder than the next $10,000 because you're fighting uphill against systems that profit from your instability. But once you understand that being broke isn't a moral failure, it's a math problem, you can stop beating yourself up and start attacking the specific costs. You're not bad with money. You're playing a game with different rules, higher fees, and less margin for error. And the only way to change that is to see it clearly. If this video helped you understand something you've been feeling but couldn't quite name, share it with someone who needs to hear it. We don't talk about this stuff enough. We talk about wins and successes, but we don't talk about the mechanics of being stuck. And hit that subscribe button because we're going to keep breaking this down. We're going to keep looking at the invisible equations that shape your financial life until everyone can see the game board clearly. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.